Welcome back to Anderson's Smoke Show. Today, this is part 2 of my pellet grill versus gravity smoker comparison. And we are gonna be doing a couple racks of spare ribs and compare them. Stick around, see what we've got to say. If you're new here, my name is Andrew and I'm an engineer. So everything you see here today is gonna be technical and to the point, whether we're talking about those grills or we're working on these ribs. But enough talk, let's get to work. So we've got my Camp Chef SmokePro SG30. We've got the Char Griller Gravity 980. Two of the top performers this summer in the pellet grill and gravity smoker lineups. I get questions all the time. Andrew, how does a pellet grill compare to a gravity series or a Char Griller Gravity 980 or a charcoal grill? Or what's the flavor like? Is it close? Is there enough smokiness with a pellet grill versus a charcoal? I get these questions all the time, and the truth is there's a lot of things that you might like about one or the other besides just the smoke level or the smokiness that you get from your food. So if you haven't seen my first video, I'll put a link up here. I'm gonna compare these and actually the features and some things about these and how they're similar and how they kind of separate from each other. But today's experiment is mostly about food. So I've got the Char Griller Gravity 980 loaded up with nothing but charcoal briquettes. No extra wood, no chips, just straight charcoal. Now you're gonna say, well, this is a wood pellet grill here. Nah. I got some of those new Royal Oak Charcoal Pellets, 100% charcoal. So, for this experiment, not only are we cooking the same ribs, with the same seasoning, at the same temperature, which we've got both of these pits set at 250 degrees. I got this at smoke level 10 and this at 250 degrees. We're running 100% charcoal pellets and we're running 100% charcoal briquettes. So that's the closest way that we could test these out. And really what we're looking to see is which one cooks them better? Which one gives you a better smoke profile? So by the end of this video, we both will have learned something. When it comes to barbecue, ribs are one of my favorite things. So for this comparison, it only made sense. So I've got 3 racks of St. Louis cut spare ribs that we are going to lather up with some good seasoning and get into these smokers. So let's get started. With a St. Louis cut, they're usually cut pretty nice and squared off, but you know, I'll show you on this rack of ribs here. You end up usually with a pretty thick side and a pretty thin side. So we'll trim these up. The backside also has a membrane. This membrane is chewy and tough, and if you're looking for the most tender ribs as possible, take the membrane off. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So I like to take a nice sharp knife and I'll feel for one of the last rib bones here. So for this one, it's gonna be here, and this is about 2 bones in. I'm gonna cut and square this up. We'll set these off to the side. I also like to look on these ribs if there's any large chunks of fat or anything really hanging off the edge. I will trim those as well. And flip it over. This rack cleaned up pretty nice. So now what I'll do is I take a butter knife. I'll flip this around. And on the back side of one of these rib bones, get the butter knife in and use that rib bone as leverage. You're gonna give it a little tug. Just like so. And you're just gonna create some space on the back side of those ribs. You'll see the membrane starting to pull up there. I take a paper towel that gives you a little extra grip, and I will peel that away from the back of these ribs. Now, it takes some practice, but you might not get it in one whole swipe every time. And on spare ribs, just the way that they're cut, it will narrow out to basically nothing. So you might have to give it a second run, but I'm gonna try and get it all in one pull here today. I just missed really just this little end piece right there. Yeah, just like that. So that's your rack of ribs with the membrane removed. I'm gonna set these off to the side, get this done to the other couple racks. We've got the ribs trimmed up now. One of the things that I always do is I rinse them off. I did rinse them off before I brought them out here, but then again, I like to wipe them again with a paper towel and just remove any excess moisture or purge that may be coming from these ribs. And I'll just do like this and lay a paper towel across it, just pat it real well. Just gets rid of that sweat and purge, because we're gonna replace it with a binder here in just a moment. We'll flip these over, do the same thing quickly. When it comes to binders, you're gonna see things like mustard and olive oil and no binder at all. For me, I always use oil or a fat. So that's duck fat, olive oil, avocado oil. I just like the way it finishes off the ribs, especially if you're doing like a hot and fast. So for these, definitely gonna be using some olive oil. I just like to get it onto my glove, and I will just rub it onto the meat, massage it in, make sure I get all around. And you don't need too much. And today for these ribs, I'm gonna be using the PS Seasoning Notorious PIG. This is a good, sweet, with a little bit of heat pork rub. I'm gonna give it a try on this. Now, I did put it into a shaker just so I have a little bit more control. So while we're working here on the back side, I'm just gonna get this rub down on these ribs. Now this last rack here isn't gonna stay here with me. I'm gonna be delivering this off to some family today. So I'm gonna use a different rub because they don't like heat. So I'm just using the Suckle Busters Hog Waller for these. No big deal. Now I like to take the back side of my glove because it's dry, doesn't have the oil on it, and I'll just give it a quick little pat. That just helps that rub stick to the surface of the meat a little better. I can see this rack needs a little bit of touch up. Could go a little thicker here. All right, and we'll just pat dry that in, and we'll flip them over, do the same to the other side. Now, back to the olive oil binder. Do it on this side as well. Get it on your glove there, on your paw, and just massage that onto the surface of the ribs. If I'm making them on the Char Griller or the Camp Chef, we're gonna make them exactly the same. We wanna see how they turn out, if you could actually tell the difference. So, you know, that is the true purpose of today's video, but everybody likes ribs. So we'll just hit it here with that Notorious PIG. Little piggy smalls. So now, just gonna pat with these with the back side of my glove again, help that rub stick. Just like so. We're gonna let them sit and sweat for a few minutes. You'll know because it'll start to look wet on the surface. That's when we're gonna get them onto the grills. Ribs are sweating, grills are hot. It's time to get them on. Let's go over here and do it. All right, so we're over at the Char Griller Gravity 980, and I'm gonna be putting one rack of the spare ribs with that Notorious PIG down into the grill. We're gonna go right centered, front to back and left to right. We're gonna leave it just like so. Let's get over to the Camp Chef. So I'm over at the Camp Chef SmokePro SG30. I'm gonna put both of these racks of ribs, the one with the Notorious PIG and this one for a family member. We're gonna put them both into the Camp Chef here. And I'm gonna center them the best that I can for having two racks. So the Suckle Busters Hog Waller, we're gonna put those in the back center. And we're going to take the Notorious PIG, the one that we're using for this experiment, I'm gonna place them right here. I'm gonna get these grills closed up, get to smoking. Now that we've got them in, 250 degrees on both pits, we are not wrapping. We will spritz if they look dry, and we're gonna push these all the way through until they're done. I'm at 250 degrees. I'm thinking about 4.5 to 5 hours total, but truthfully, you don't really wanna ever cook to time when you're doing barbecue. You wanna look at feel, and you wanna look at to see how the tissue's breaking up and see how tender things are. So it's just an estimate at this point, but I will remind you at the end how long it's been. But at this point, all we have to do is wait. So I'll see you in a bit when it's ready to spritz, and maybe we'll talk more then. All right, we are out here. We've passed the 3.5 hour mark. We are approaching 4 hours in. You can see these ribs have a great color. We're getting some pullback on those bones, looking great. Now I've spritzed them about, I don't know, 3 times or so. I've got my pump spritzer here. I've actually got some Angry Orchard in, and I just give it a quick little spritz if the surface looks a little dry. And man, I tell you what, these are looking really good. Let's take a look at the char griller and see how things are doing over there. All right, we're looking about the same. I don't think we're getting as much pullback as we were on the others. I don't think they need spritz right now at the moment either, but they are looking good. I'm figuring about 4.5, 5 hours on these, maybe a little more, it depends. We are at 250. We will keep checking, we will keep looking after these ribs. I'm figuring about 5, maybe 5.5 hours. We'll see in a bit. All right, we're out here. These ribs are ready to get sauced. We got some of the PS seasoning, Peach Buzz. I like peach with a little bit of heat, and I think it's gonna go perfect with these ribs. Get over here, I'll flip these ribs over. I'm just gonna drizzle a line of sauce right down the middle. And we'll do a little Picasso-ing, a little painting with this sauce. And these are some no-rack spare ribs. Now we're saucing these up. Let me check the time here. We are about a little over 5 hours in. Let me pick this rack up, flip that back over. Same thing. We're gonna run a thick bead of sauce right down the middle. And we're just gonna do some painting here. All right, we'll get this one shut. Got some work to do over at that Camp Chef. All right, same thing over here. A little peach buzz on these spare ribs. This rack is just a little bit thicker, but they're finishing up about the same time. We'll flip this rack over. Oh yeah. 250 degrees, a little over 5 hours. These things are basically done. I'm just out here glazing them up with some sauce. I like to do that about the last 10, 15 minutes or so. I like that sauce to set up. I don't want it to be real messy or real sloppy. The heat will just help thicken it up, glaze it up a little bit. Perfect. I can tell you, both of these grills have ran great. Thin blue lines of smoke the entire time. It's been great. You can really smell the charcoal. Those pellets are pretty nice. Yeah, we got our bead of sauce. We're just gonna brush that on. All right, those are painted up pretty nicely. We're gonna give it about 10 minutes, let that sauce set up, and it'll be time to pull them off the grill, give them a try. All right, sauce is glazed up. It's time to get them off. Now I got my Camp Chef cutting board. I'm gonna put the Camp Chef ribs closest to the Camp Chef logo on the cutting board. That way I know which ones they are. Got them off. Over here at the char griller now, go ahead and get this rack off. This rack is a little bit thinner. Oop, hit a bone there. All right, the ribs are done. We had them on the Camp Chef SmokePro SG30 and on the Char Griller Gravity 980. We've got 2 racks of St. Louis style spare ribs. We've got them seasoned with the PS seasoning, Notorious PIG, along with their Peach Buzz barbecue sauce. These things look great. They feel super tender. It is time to cut into them and give them a try. Now this rack here, Camp Chef, this rack here is the Char Griller. This one is a little bit thicker in comparison. No big deal. All right, I'm gloved up here. Let's take a look at these bones, see which direction they're running. All right, we're gonna cut right into that just like so. Great looking rib. It's got a nice smoke ring. It stayed intact when I cut it. Get this other half out of the way here. This is the Camp Chef. Let's get in here to the Char Griller. Let's take a look here. All right, we're cutting into one of these here. There they are, nice intact. Got a nice smoke penetration. You can see the ring on both sides. We've got the Camp Chef. We've got the Char Griller. It's time to give them a try. And truthfully, I know they're both gonna be good. I've made ribs so many times on both of these grills and I know they're delicious. But my test here is to see really if I can tell the difference. Now granted, I know what they were, but my blind taste testers aren't home, so see what they taste like. That's a clean bite right there. Clean bite. Now, that notorious PIG's got a little zing to it, and with that peach buzz barbecue sauce, man, that's some good stuff. All right, we tried the Camp Chef, now let's try the Char Griller. Now, believe it or not, I actually still can taste the difference. Now, it could just be the difference between those charcoal pellets and actual charcoal briquettes. The ribs from the Char Griller still have a little more bold charcoal taste. Truthfully, truthfully though, those charcoal pellets from Royal Oak in that pellet grill, they're good. They're good. They mimic charcoal. I mean, they are charcoal. They really give a good charcoal flavor. It's not overwhelming. And mind you, I didn't use Royal Oak lump or anything like that. That's B&B. So maybe the wood makeup is a little bit different. Not sure. But the Char Griller Gravity 980, a little more bold flavor. Both racks of ribs spent the same amount of time on these grills, 250 degrees, center of the rack, and they turned out great. They were super tender, bite off the bone, and truthfully, you're gonna be happy with either or. Your pellet grill or your Camp Chef or your gravity-fed charcoal smoker or that Char Griller Gravity 980. If you wanna see more satisfying results, then be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time at Anderson's Smoke Show.